The storm outside was relentless, howling through the cracks in the window panes. It was just past midnight, and the house was unnervingly quiet, almost too quiet. I was lying in bed, my mind heavy with exhaustion, when I heard it. A faint knock, not at the door, but at the window by my bedside. My heart stopped. 3 soft taps, deliberate and slow. I froze. My breath caught in my throat, as the shadows on the wall seemed to come alive. The knocking stopped, but what followed sent chills down my spine. A voice, no louder than a whisper, calling my name. Emily. I jolted upright, staring at the glass, but the curtains concealed whatever was out there. My pulse raced. It could not be who I thought it was. It was impossible. He was gone, buried 6 months ago. My hand trembled as I reached for the curtain, but something inside me screamed not to look. Yet I had to know. Who or what was outside? Life had felt different since the day we buried my younger brother, Ryan. He had been my best friend, my confidant, and the only person who truly understood me. His death had left a gaping hole in our family. My parents barely spoke to each other anymore, their grief creating a wall of silence between them. And me? I spent most nights staring at his old bedroom door, wishing for just one more moment, one more conversation. Ryan was always the brave one, the adventurous spirit in a family that preferred routine. He loved the outdoors and often joked that the wilderness was his true home. I envied his courage, but I also feared it. The night he disappeared, he had gone out on one of his late-night hikes, something he swore was therapeutic. When they found him at the bottom of the ravine the next day, shattered and lifeless, I could not understand how it had happened. He was too careful for something like that. Since his death, strange things had begun happening around the house. Small, inexplicable events I tried to dismiss. His bedroom light would flicker on and off, even though the bulb had been replaced multiple times. His favorite jacket, the one he wore on all his hikes, would appear in odd places, once on the back of my chair, another time folded neatly on my bed. My parents claimed I was imagining things, that my grief was playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. It was as if Ryan had never truly left. And now, with that knock on my window and his voice whispering my name, I feared the truth I had tried so hard to deny. The silence in the room felt suffocating as I sat frozen on my bed, staring at the curtain-covered window. My fingers trembled as I clutched the blanket tightly around me, the sound of my name still echoing in my ears. Emily, it had whispered, soft and familiar, yet impossibly distant. My mind raced through the possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Could it have been the wind, a neighbor, my imagination? But none of those explanations felt right, not when the voice had sounded exactly like Ryan's. For a moment I debated waking my parents, but the thought of their dismissive glances and tired assurances that I was just grieving stopped me. I was on my own in this. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I slid out of bed and slowly approached the window. My bare feet pressed against the cold wooden floor, the sound of my shallow breaths filling the room. As I reached for the curtain, my heart pounded so loudly it drowned out the storm outside. I hesitated, fingers just inches away from pulling it back. What if it really was him? Or worse, what if it wasn't? My mind wrestled with the decision until a sudden burst of light illuminated the room. A flash of lightning that briefly revealed a shadow on the other side of the curtain. It was unmistakable. Someone or something was standing there. I stumbled back, my legs giving way as I collapsed onto the floor. My breath came in short gasps, and I stared at the curtain, paralyzed by fear. "Ryan?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the thunder. Another knock came, louder this time, followed by a second whisper. "Emily, open the window." My instincts screamed at me to run, to lock the door and hide under the covers like I used to do as a child. But something about the voice, it wasn't just familiar. It carried a pleading, desperate tone that reminded me of the nights Ryan would wake me after a bad dream. Against every rational thought, I forced myself to my feet and reached for the curtain once more. As I pulled it back, my heart stopped. The window was empty. Rain streaked down the glass, and beyond it the darkness of the stormy night stretched endlessly. There was no one there. I pressed my hand to the cold glass, searching for any trace of what I had just seen. My reflection stared back at me, pale and wide-eyed, but nothing else. And then, just as I turned away, the voice came again, this time from behind me. "Emily, why didn't you open the window?" I spun around, my eyes scanning the room. There was no one there. The door was still shut, the room undisturbed. But I knew what I had heard. I wasn't alone. The air in the room grew heavier, pressing against my chest like a weight I could not shake. My heart hammered as I backed into the corner, every instinct telling me to flee. Yet my feet refused to move. The storm outside raged on, the lightning casting fleeting shadows across the walls. And then it happened. The closet door, which had been firmly shut, creaked open ever so slowly. "Ryan?" I whispered into the suffocating silence, my voice trembling. The door stopped halfway, revealing nothing but darkness within. My breaths came in shallow gasps as I forced myself to move closer. Each step felt like walking into the unknown, into something I could never fully prepare for. The air around me was freezing, as if the warmth had been drained from the room. When I finally reached the closet, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door. My fingers shook uncontrollably as I whispered his name again, barely audible this time. "Ryan, if it's you, say something." For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of the rain pounding against the windows. And then, from the depths of the darkness, his voice emerged, soft and broken. "Emily, I'm sorry." The word sent a shiver down my spine. It was him, his voice, his tone, the way he always spoke when he felt guilty. I peered into the closet and my breath caught. There he was, sitting on the floor, his head resting against the wall, just like he used to when he was upset. But something was wrong. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, they were hollow, devoid of life. "Ryan," I choked, tears streaming down my face. How are you here? You're gone." He didn't respond. Instead, he looked up at me, his expression filled with sorrow. "I didn't mean to leave, Em. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." His voice cracked, and I could feel his pain, his regret like a physical force pulling me closer. I knelt, reaching out to touch him. But the moment my fingers brushed against his, an icy chill shot through me. His form flickered. like a glitch in a video, and for a brief moment he wasn't Ryan anymore. He was something else, distorted, shadowy, and terrifying. I scrambled back, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. "Emily," his voice called out again, but it wasn't coming from the closet anymore. It echoed around the room, disembodied and haunting. "You have to help me. Please, I'm stuck. I'm trapped here." His words filled me with a mix of dread and desperation. "What do you mean? Where are you?" I shouted, tears blurring my vision. The room seemed to shift, the walls closing in as the shadows grew darker and darker. "I never left the ravine," he whispered, his voice trembling with fear. "They wouldn't let me go. I thought I was just falling, but it was something else. Something pulled me. They want you now, Emily." My blood ran cold. The shadows around me began to move, taking on shapes, figures, reaching out for me. "Who's they? Ryan, what's happening?" I screamed, my voice cracking with terror. Before he could answer, the shadows surged forward, engulfing the room in darkness. I felt their cold grip on my arms, pulling me back toward the closet. "Ryan!" I cried, struggling against them. His form appeared again, but this time he was reaching out for me, his face twisted in anguish. "I'm sorry, Em. I didn't mean to bring you into this," he said, his voice breaking. "Fight them!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the room. "Don't let them take you." But the shadows were relentless, their icy grip tightening around me as the world dissolved into darkness. The last thing I saw was Ryan's face, his tear-streaked eyes staring at me as he whispered one final time, "I'll come for you, Emily. I promise." When I woke up, I was on the floor of my room, drenched in sweat and gasping for air. The storm had passed, and faint sunlight filtered through the blinds, but the room felt eerily still. My body ached, and I could still feel the icy touch of the shadows on my skin. For a moment, I wondered if it had all been a nightmare, a cruel manifestation of my grief. But when I turned my head toward the closet, the door was wide open, and Ryan's jacket was draped over the chair by my desk. I scrambled to my feet, my hands trembling as I reached for the jacket. It smelled like him, that faint mix of pine and earth that he always carried. Tears welled up in my eyes as I clutched it to my chest. "Ryan," I whispered, hoping he could somehow hear me. "What do I do now?" I spent the rest of the day trying to make sense of what had happened. The shadows, his voice, the feeling of being pulled into the darkness. It was all too vivid to dismiss as a dream. And his words, "They want you now," echoed in my mind, filling me with a growing sense of dread. Who were they, and why me? I avoided the closet, refusing to even glance in its direction. The house felt heavier, as though some unseen presence lingered in every corner. My parents didn't notice anything unusual, though I could barely bring myself to meet their eyes. I wanted to tell them what had happened, but how could I explain something I didn't understand myself? They already thought I was struggling with grief. This would only confirm their suspicions that I was losing my mind. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the window, made my heart race. I kept Ryan's jacket beside me, clutching it like a lifeline. Around midnight, I heard it again, the faint knock at the window. My stomach turned as I sat up, clutching the blanket around me. This time, I didn't wait. I forced myself out of bed and approached the window, yanking the curtain aside. There was nothing there but the reflection of my own pale face and the empty yard beyond. But as I turned away, a cold breeze brushed past me, sending a shiver down my spine. The closet door, which I had firmly shut earlier, was now ajar. My heart sank as I stared at it, dread pooling in my stomach. "Ryan?" I called out softly, my voice barely audible. The air in the room shifted, and for a moment I thought I heard him again, a faint whisper, so quiet I couldn't make out the words. I approached the closet cautiously, every step feeling like it might be my last. When I reached it, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door. I wanted to run, to shut the door and never open it again, but I knew I couldn't. Not if I wanted answers. I pulled the door open, and there it was. His hiking boots, muddy and worn, sitting neatly in the corner. They hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. A note lay tucked inside one of them, written in Ryan's unmistakable scrawl. My hand shook as I unfolded it, the words sending a chill down my spine. "It's not over. Be ready." I dropped the note, my mind spinning. What did he mean? Be ready for what? The shadows? The voices? I had no idea where to turn or how to prepare for something I didn't understand. All I knew was that this wasn't the end. Whatever had taken Ryan was coming for me, and I didn't have much time. Even now, as I sit here in the safety of daylight, the events of that night haunt me. I cannot shake the memory of Ryan's voice, the pleading look in his eyes, or the cryptic warning he left behind. The shadows in my room no longer feel like harmless tricks of the light. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the lamp fills me with dread. The house, once my refuge, has become a place I no longer recognize, a place where the veil between this world and whatever lies beyond seems dangerously thin. I have tried to convince myself that it was all in my head, a manifestation of grief and sleepless nights. But the jacket, the boots, the note, they are all real. They sit in the corner of my room now, reminders of a truth I cannot deny. Ryan is still out there somewhere, caught in a darkness I don't understand. And now, for reasons I can't explain, that darkness is coming for me too. I wonder if I should have told someone, my parents, a friend, anyone who might believe me. But how do you explain something so impossible? Something that feels more like a nightmare than reality? I've spent hours researching, searching for answers in old books and forums, trying to find anything that might explain what I've experienced. The more I look, the more questions I find. Who are they, and what do they want? Is Ryan truly gone? Or is he somehow trapped between two worlds? And why me? I keep thinking about the ravine where he died, about the way he described it as his safe place. What if it wasn't? What if something else was waiting for him there that night? Something he didn't see until it was too late? And what if that same force is waiting for me? As I write this, I feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on me. I don't know what's coming next, but I can feel it. It's as if the shadows are alive, watching, waiting. Ryan said to be ready, but how can you prepare for something you can't see, can't fight, and don't understand? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will all pass, and the world will go back to normal. But a part of me knows better. This isn't over, not for me, and maybe not for you either. What would you do if someone you loved called out to you from the darkness? Would you run, or would you try to save them no matter the cost? Let me know what you think in the comments, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to do next. And if you want to hear the rest of this story as it unfolds, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is far from the end. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes, the people we've lost aren't as far away as we think. The real question is, are you ready for what happens when they come back?